The celebration shimmered across the orbital station Harmony's edge like a living aurora. Holograms of doves drifted through the grand hall, the emblem of the Galactic Concord rotating slowly above a sea of diplomats and dignitaries. 4,000 years without war, an achievement carved in gold and ceremony. Humanity, once the terror of the stars, had become its greatest peacemaker. Admiral K.O. Ryden stood near the panoramic viewport, glass of silver wine untouched. Beyond it hung the pale arc of Earth, serene, blue, unscarred. He should have felt pride. Instead, an unease lingered at the back of his mind, like an itch under skin. The speeches around him sounded hollow. Too smooth. Too rehearsed. Peace, he thought, had made them soft. "Admiral," murmured Counselor Lyra Oven, stepping beside him. Her gown shimmered like starlight. "You look like a man attending a funeral." Kale offered a tight smile. "For millennia of peace deserve celebration. But peace without vigilance is just the silence before something breaks." Before she could reply, the lights dimmed. The hall's hum faded into a single pulse of static. The Concord emblem flickered, dissolved, replaced by a distorted feed. Murmurs spread like ripples through the crowd. The image steadied. A classroom under alien sky. 12 children. Laughing, pointing toward a hovering drone that recorded them. The laughter turned to screams as a shadow fell. Metallic shapes descended, sleek, curved, marked with the sigil of the Ealer Dominion. Armored figures stepped out, efficient, wordless. One girl tried to run, a stunned pulse dropped her mid-stride. The teacher raised his hands, shouting, "They're children! Please!" The feed crackled and cut to black. A voice replaced it. Calm. Musical. Alien. "We have your offspring. They will serve the purpose evolution denied you. Submit to either authority." The message ended as suddenly as it began. Silence devoured the hall. Then chaos erupted, delegates shouting across species, translators struggling to keep pace. Someone screamed for security, someone else demanded to know if it was a simulation. Kale didn't move. His glass shattered in his hand, forgotten. His voice came out steady but cold. "Replay that transmission," he ordered the nearest technician. "Audio and visual analysis." The technician hesitated, recognizing the rank woven into Kale's uniform. "Admiral, the signal came directly from Eden 3. Confirmed colony ID." Lyra turned toward him, eyes wide. "That's impossible. The Ealers signed the non-interference charter." "They wouldn't." "They would," Kale said, already moving. "And they did." Within hours, the Concord Council assembled in emergency session. The chamber floated in geosynchronous orbit above Sol, a ring of light around nothingness. Kale stood at the edge of the human delegation's platform, watching the argument unfold. Ealer Representative Vorin Koresha's holographic image towered above the central floor, every word dripping with disdain. "A tragic misunderstanding," he said smoothly. "A local command unit exceeded authority. The young humans will be returned after medical evaluation." Kale's jaw tightened. "You abducted them like specimens." Vorin smiled faintly. "Specimens? No, Admiral. Subjects of study. There is a difference." Humanity's senior diplomat placed a warning hand on Kale's arm. "Let the council deliberate." Kale stepped forward anyway. "You call it misunderstanding. We call it kidnapping. Return them. Now." The Ealer's golden eyes glinted. "Careful, human. 4,000 years of peace should have taught restraint." "Peace," Kale said softly, "was built on trust. You just shattered it." The council's presiding voice, an ancient Etherian delegate, intervened. "This assembly finds insufficient evidence of systemic intent. The matter will be resolved through formal apology and reparations." Kale turned sharply. "Reparations? They took children." "Admiral," hissed the human diplomat. "Enough." But the Ealer's faint smirk told Kale all he needed to know. This was no rogue act. It was a test. A reminder. A warning. The session dissolved into political murk. Kale left before adjournment, the echo of alien laughter still in his ears. His private quarters aboard Harmony's Edge were Spartan, bare steel, a single holopic of his late wife and their daughter. His fingers hovered above the image. Elara had died decades ago, their daughter grown now, serving on Eden 3. A flicker of dread passed through him. "Computer," he said, "connect me to the Eden 3 manifest. Civilian School, Sector 9. The system hesitated, then replied in its soft synthetic tone. "Access restricted by Concord Authority." He stared at the blinking denial. Then whispered, "They've already locked it down." A soft chime sounded. His doors slid open without request. 4 figures entered, plain clothes, old soldiers by the way they carried themselves. One of them, Captain Reese Taller, saluted. "Admiral. We thought you might want to see this." He handed Cale a datapad. The feed showed grainy surveillance from a smuggled probe orbiting Eden 3. Alien transports. A hidden compound. The same sigil as before, and within it, small human forms behind containment fields. Cale exhaled slowly. So the Council lied. "They're not coming back," Reese said quietly. "We all know it." Cale looked around the room. These were men and women who'd dismantled their weapons centuries ago, who'd sworn to keep humanity peaceful. Yet their eyes burned with something ancient. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "Permission," Reese said. "To wake the Vanguard." Cale turned away, staring at Earth again. 4,000 years of peace. Generations of trust built with care. If he gave the order, everything changed. Every treaty, every alliance, every illusion of safety. But the image of those terrified children would not leave him. He opened the secure console embedded in his desk, fingers hesitating only once before entering the sequence he'd memorized as a young officer, a sequence no one believed would ever be used again. Reactivation Protocol, Vanguard Dawn. The screen flared crimson. Warning: revival of Terran fleet authorized by Command Raiden Cale. Confirm intent. He pressed his thumb to the scanner. Confirmed. Deep beneath the lunar surface, ancient hangars sealed for millennia shuddered awake. Dust fell from metal giants older than most civilizations in the Concord. Engines coughed, reactors pulsed, and red lights rippled through buried corridors as dormant systems recognized their creator's voice once more. Cale stood in silence as the stars beyond his window seemed to brighten, his reflection ghosting across them. For the first time in ages, he felt the pulse of something raw and human, resolve sharpened by grief. Lyra's voice came over the calm. "Cale, what have you done?" He answered without turning. "What should have been done the moment they took our children? This will break everything," she said softly. "The Concord, the treaties." "Then let it break," Cale said. "Better broken than blind." He closed the channel, watching the first light of Earth rise beyond the curve of the station. Below that calm blue world, beneath Luna's crust, humanity's forgotten wrath stirred. For 4,000 years, the stars had known peace. Now, they would remember who taught them fear. The void above Luna shimmered with motion. Ships long entombed under dust and rock now ascended in silence, black metal phantoms reborn under ghostly floodlights. One by one, they broke through the surface, engines igniting like awakening suns. The Terran vanguard had returned to the stars. Admiral Cale Raiden stood on the bridge of the Soul's Wrath, flagship of the resurrected fleet. The air smelled faintly of ozone and cold steel, the scent of machines that had not breathed in ages. Holographic status grids filled the space around him, crew moving with precision, many too young to remember war, yet carrying determination older than their bloodlines. "Fleet status?" Cale asked. Lieutenant Eris glanced up from her console. 72% reactivation complete, sir. AI cores online. Power systems stable. The old ships woke faster than expected. Cale's gaze lingered on the tactical screen showing a rotating sphere, Earth, ringed now by the ships of war it once buried. "They've been waiting," he murmured. Within hours, news swept through human colonies like wildfire. Some hailed Cale as a savior, others a traitor. Broadcasts split worlds into chaos. Admiral Ryden has betrayed the Concord, declared one feed. He's doing what the Council wouldn't, argued another. Peace had fractured, and no amount of rhetoric could mend it. On Mars, protesters marched through crimson dust carrying signs of burning doves. On Europa, old veterans re-enlisted without orders. Across human space, an ancient pulse returned, a rhythm of readiness no one had taught them but everyone still remembered. Kale stood in the command observation dome, watching the fleet align in perfect orbital formation. Lyra Oven's face flickered into view on the holocom. Her tone was colder than vacuum. You've crossed every treaty, Kale. The Concord calls it rebellion. They can call it what they want, he said evenly. They left our children in cages. I won't. They're threatening sanctions. Trade bans. Isolation from the Concord's energy grid. Kale folded his arms. We built our own grids before they existed. We can build them again. Kale, she said softer now. This isn't a battle you can win. He met her gaze. It's not about winning. It's about bringing them home. The line cut. Hours later, the fleet's engineers gathered in the tactical core of Sol's Wrath. Among them was Chief Engineer Ilya Moran, a quiet genius whose hands bore the scars of rebuilding ancient engines. 4,000 years sealed, she said, brushing dust off an alloy plate. But these ships, they're alive. Whoever designed them built them to last through eternity. Kale nodded. Humanity built them for extinction wars. They outlasted peace because they were never truly decommissioned. Ilya looked up, eyes shadowed by guilt. You realize what happens when we light these drives? Every Concord sensor will know. There's no going back. Kale's answer was steady. We passed that point the moment the first child screamed. Meanwhile, in the marble spires of the Galactic Concord Council, panic simmered. Delegates debated in circles while the Elar Dominion's ambassador, Vorin Koresh, smiled in quiet satisfaction. They've shown their nature, Vorin told the assembly. The beasts wake at the first provocation. Their peace was a facade. The Arthurian speaker turned translucent eyes toward him. And yet, strategos, it was your forces that violated treaty first. Vorin inclined his head. Accidents occur in the pursuit of knowledge. But now you see, they turn from reason to war. You cannot control them. He left the chamber with calm grace. Inwardly, he savored the unfolding chaos. If humanity fought, the Concord would shatter, and the Dominion would rise from the ashes stronger than ever. Back aboard Sol's Wrath, Kale stood before a projection of the abducted children. The image was grainy, stolen from a smuggled transmission, thin faces, frightened eyes behind alien glass. A soft voice drew his attention. You shouldn't watch it again, said Rhys Taller, his old comrade, stepping forward. Kale didn't look away. Remind me why I started this. You don't need reminding. You need rest. The fleet's ready, but the Concord will send envoys. They'll demand you stand down. Kale finally turned, eyes tired but clear. If peace demands silence in the face of cruelty, then peace is just another kind of war, one we've been losing quietly. Rhys nodded. Then we fight loudly. By the next dawn cycle, the first ships left orbit for Titan, where dormant shipyards stirred awake. Automated foundries reignited, spilling molten light across the moon's surface. Forgotten AIs whispered across encrypted channels, reacquainting themselves with their human commanders. Kale watched from orbit as Sol's Wrath glided past Saturn's rings. The beauty of it hurt, an ancient world still perfect, unaware of the storm coming. He remembered his daughter's laugh, faint as wind through leaves. The thought tightened his chest. A transmission alert blinked. Source, Concord Council. He considered ignoring it, then sighed and accepted. The council chamber appeared as a massive hologram before him. Hundreds of alien faces glared. The speaker's tone was glacial. Admiral Ryden of Sol, you are ordered to cease military mobilization. Humanity is hereby placed under probationary sanction. You will dismantle your fleet or face Concord reprisal. Kale straightened, voice steady. You ignored our pleas. You allowed the Elar to take what is ours. You chose quiet over justice. This is not how civilization survives, said a crystalline delegate. No, Kale replied. This is how it remembers why it deserves to. He ended the transmission. The hollow dissolved into empty air. Moments later, a low tremor rolled through Sol's Wrath as the fleet aligned into combat readiness. Engine signatures burned bright enough to cast shadows across Titan's ice plains. Humanity had crossed the line. Admiral, Lieutenant Eris reported. The Concord fleet is mobilizing near Sirius. Estimated contact in 12 hours. Kale's expression didn't change. Let them come. They'll find we've learned from their lessons of peace. That night, Kale met alone with the mother of one of the abducted children. She had requested audience under the codename Leora. She was younger than he expected, eyes hollow yet unbroken. They said you'd bring them home, she whispered. I intend to. What if they're already gone? Kale's throat tightened. Then we make sure it never happens again. She studied him, voice trembling. My son loved the stars. He used to say the universe was kind. Kale lowered his gaze. It was. Once. She handed him a small pendant, a child's drawing sealed in glass, a sun with 12 rays. For when you find them. He closed his fist around it. I will. Hours later, as Sol's Wrath led the vanguard out of orbit, the stars flared against the darkness. The fleet's formation unfolded like a rising constellation, ships bearing names long forgotten, Iron Prayer, Nova's Heart, Ashen Crown. In every colony, screens filled with the same broadcast, Kale's voice. We built peace with our hands. We offered friendship to every star. We asked for nothing but respect. That respect has been broken. We do not seek war, but we will not kneel. Return our children, or witness humanity remember what it once was. The message repeated across frequencies until even the Ealer homeworld heard it. Archstrategos Voron Koresh watched from his command spire as the human transmission ended. He smiled faintly. Let them come, he murmured. We will teach them humility. The void erupted with light. Human warships tore out of FTL near Kareth Prime, the Ealer Dominion's outer fortress world. Alarm sirens echoed across alien cities as the black silhouettes of the Terran vanguard filled the skies. They came without warning, without preamble, an armada of steel and vengeance, engines glowing like wrathful suns. Admiral Kale Ryden stood at the helm of Sol's Wrath, his reflection sharp against the glass as enemy icons blossomed across the tactical grid. He spoke quietly, each word cutting through the silence. Transmit once. Open channel to all Ealer frequencies. The communications officer nodded. A moment later, Kale's voice carried across every Dominion system. We seek our children. Release them, and this ends now. No answer came. Only the low, cold hum of distant Ealer warforms powering up. Kale exhaled once. Then it begins. The first barrage struck like the anger of a star. Human rail cannons unleashed kinetic storms that crossed space in seconds. Ealer defense rings flared, crumpling under impacts they hadn't seen in generations. The Dominion fleet countered with plasma lances and gravitic torpedoes, their arcs painting violent fire across the void. Shield integrity holding at 80%. Eris reported, voice steady. Maintain formation, Kale ordered. Target their command nodes. No civilian zones, mark and bypass. The battle became a brutal ballet of light and silence. The vanguard moved like a single living organism, human coordination sharper than any AI could mimic. Ealer commanders, trained for ceremonial patrols rather than real combat, faltered as their lines buckled. Within an hour, the Dominion's orbital command fell. Kale watched its remains drift, a burning halo above Kareth Prime. His gut twisted. Victory never felt this heavy. A transmission cut through the static. Admiral Ryden, came a familiar voice, smooth and cold. You've made your point. Let's end this before your species burns itself again. Voron Koresh's image materialized before Kale, a tall figure clad in silver armor, eyes like molten gold. Kale's tone didn't rise. Return the children, and you'll live to lecture another day. They're safe, Vorin replied. Studied, not harmed. Your kind should thank us. You've forgotten evolution's teeth. Kale's expression hardened. You mistake restraint for weakness. That's a fatal error. Vorin's smirk vanished. You think you're self-righteous. But you are no different than us, primitives dressing fury as justice. Kale stepped closer to the projection. We fight for life, not dominion. That's the difference between us. Then he cut the feed. Helm, prepare ground strike insertion. I'm going down there. Hours later, Kale descended through the storm-racked atmosphere of Kareth Prime aboard a dropped shuttle. Below, the planet burned, smoldering fortresses, shattered defense towers, the sky pulsing red with reentry fire. Rhys Taller sat beside him, tightening his harness. You don't have to go personally, Rhys muttered. I do, Kale replied. They're still alive down there. I can feel it. The shuttle slammed into the surface near a crystalline citadel, the Ealer Research Complex. The air was thick with heat and static. Kale led the strike team through ruined corridors, weapons drawn, guided by faint human life signals deep underground. They breached the final chamber and froze. 12 containment pods lined the walls, glowing faintly blue. Inside, the children floated in stasis, alive, breathing, unaware. In the center of the room stood Vorin Koresh himself, unarmed, composed, as if expecting them. You've come far, Admiral, he said. For such fragile attachments. Kale leveled his weapon. Step aside. Vorin folded his hands behind his back. Why? To let you prove your species has learned nothing but violence? You could have rebuilt peace. Instead, you chose this. Kale took a slow step forward. Peace built on fear isn't peace. It's slavery. You misunderstand the galaxy, Vorin said quietly. Peace exists only when strength is absolute. You humans once ruled through terror. You call it history, I call it instinct. Kale's jaw tightened. Instinct didn't save you today. For a moment neither moved. Then Vorin spoke again, almost gently. You'll burn for this. The Concord will never forgive you. Kale lowered his weapon. Then let them come. But the next time someone reaches for our children, they'll remember this day. He walked to the control console and released the pods. The stasis field shimmered, faded. Small breaths filled the room as the children stirred, weak but alive. A little boy blinked, staring up at him. Are you from Earth? Kale crouched beside him, voice steady. Yes, son. You're safe now. The boy's hand slipped into his. Kale squeezed once, gentle and certain. Behind him, Vorin spoke again, voice brittle. You could end me. Why hesitate? Kale didn't turn. Because mercy is something you'll never understand. Then he led the children out. By the time the extraction ships broke orbit, the Ealer Dominion fleet lay scattered. The human armada held position but didn't pursue. Kale ordered ceasefire. We've done what we came to do. No more blood. Across the comms, Rhys's voice crackled. They'll call this invasion. Kale looked out at the burning planet. History will decide what to call it. I only care that those children see another sunrise. When the Galactic Concord finally arrived, the war was already over. Their fleets entered a graveyard of drifting wreckage and silent human vessels standing watch. Kale's transmission reached them before their diplomats could speak. We asked for justice. We were denied. We acted. The Terran vanguard will withdraw once our people are safe. We seek no conquest, no empire, only respect. The message echoed through every member world. For the first time in millennia, silence replaced arrogance. The Concord, once the voice of order, had been outpaced by one man's conviction. On the observation deck of Soul's Wrath, Kale stood alone, watching Kareth Prime recede into the darkness. Behind him, the rescued children slept in recovery chambers under medical care. The pendant Liara had given him hung in his hand, the glass warm from his touch. Rhys joined him, face drawn but relieved. They're stable. Scared but safe. Kale nodded. Good. That's all that matters. You know the Concord will brand us as renegades. Kale gave a faint smile. Let them. They'll think twice before branding us again. He turned back to the stars. The silence between them wasn't empty, it was full, alive with possibility and consequence. Reese broke it softly. What happens now? Kale exhaled. We go home. We rebuild. And we remember what peace is supposed to mean. As Soul's Wrath prepared for jump, Kale recorded his final log entry. His voice carried quiet conviction, stripped of fury but not of strength. Humanity wanted peace. We believed in it so deeply we forgot its cost. But peace without justice is submission. The Ether reminded us what happens when others think we've forgotten who we are. We answered, not with conquest but with resolve. The galaxy will call us many things. I call us awake. He closed the log and looked out at the infinite expanse, stars gleaming like scattered embers of ancient wars. For the first time in centuries, they no longer felt distant. They felt alive, dangerous, and real. As the fleet entered FTL, Earth's distant sun flared in his mind's eye, a memory of home calling him back. The children slept safely aboard, and for that, he allowed himself one breath of relief.